It's almost 12:01, so let's get started. Um, Welcome everyone. It's Monday, Mindfulness Monday, and I thought I'd start off with a quote by one of my teachers and mentors. This is Byron Katie, um, and she says, "I am a lover of what is, not because I'm a spiritual person, but because it hurts when I argue with reality." Now, she wrote a book called "Loving What Is." It was really influential for me when I was in a really dark space, and I actually ended up doing some trainings with her, and including like a 12-day sort of intensive. She calls it the School for the Work, and it was really life changing. And I think what she's referring to here is that I think our brains are wired for a whole host of different reasons to live in a world that is sort of has these binary sort of dichotomies of good bad, right wrong, positive and negative, and then even pleasant and unpleasant. And it happens so quickly for us, in part because it helped our ancestors survive, right? So eating some food that was rotten and maybe unhealthy for us, you don't necessarily have time or want to go through the whole process of debating whether you should find different terminology for it. It's just it's bad food. Don't eat it. It makes things very simple. But when it comes to our sensations and our emotions, I think it can get us into well, I think there's a lot of suffering that can come from adopting this, or I think we adopt it automatically, but maybe not questioning it or learning how to inquire a little bit and be a little more nuanced around. So I understand this. I mean, here's an example. Fevers don't feel good, and for the longest time, what we were supposed to do when we had fevers was, take medicines that would reduce the fevers. Now, I think there are more and more physicians that look at that and say, no, the fever's there for a reason. I know it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel pleasant, but that's our organism processing, something it needs to raise the temperature to kill off certain um, organisms that are making us sick. And so that's, I think, a good example of, just because something feels unpleasant or it feels difficult doesn't mean that it is bad, or doesn't mean that it's something that we should push away and not engage with. Easier said than done, because sometimes I know I've been in those places where, even someone suggesting that to me, given my, depressed state, I'd want to slap them and say, you don't understand it. It just hurts so much that I really do want this to go away. So of course, finding the right timing and the context to put this idea on the table and say, well, let's today maybe spend a few minutes exploring our relationship to sensations that feel difficult or even emotionally painful, and certainly also emotions or thoughts that we have a tendency to label as good or bad, or positive or negative. Um, so brings us to this definition of mindfulness. So mindfulness is when we pay attention on purpose to whatever is happening in the present moment. So obviously when we're thinking of or remembering certain things, that memory is happening in the present moment, and it may elicit certain internal experiences. And here's the part I want to focus on today and that's the without judgment part. So good, bad, right, wrong. At the end of the day, these are just judgments. They're labels that we jump into, but they have a really significant impact on how we hold or our relationship to whatever the experience is. So let's try it out. Let's practice. So let's start by closing our eyes and noticing the body in space and time. I'm sitting in a chair. Some of you may be probably in a chair as well. Maybe you're in your car. Maybe you're lying down. Doesn't matter. But just noticing the body. And how do you know that you inhabit a body? Like, what are the telltale signs? One way is to notice where the body is in contact with the ground. So noticing the feet, noticing what it's the sensation of sitting. How do I know I'm sitting? Well, I can feel it. I have sensations. And there's also coming into contact the body more directly. So noticing breath, when the body breathes, it makes noises that we can bear witness to. Also sensations in our chest, in our belly, nostrils. And then bringing the attention to hands. My fingers are touching right now, noticing temperature and sensation in the hands. And how would you describe what the body feels like right now if you were to apply any kind of labels or descriptors to, does it feel light, heavy, maybe it feels neutral, achy, hot, cold? And is the overall sensation of your body in this moment, is it pleasant? Is it unpleasant? Does the body feel good? Does it feel bad? And what about the mind? Pleasant, unpleasant? And if those labels don't quite fit, that's okay. I'm really just sort of trying to steer us towards noticing mindfully, just being present with this tendency of our to label our experiences in these ways, just to observe how the mind does that, how quickly it happens. Of course, all sensations and all emotions, and thoughts, they're there for a reason. And sometimes they feel unpleasant, other times they feel pleasant. At the end of the day, even the difficult ones are there to help us survive, help us pay attention to important things that are happening, maybe dangerous things. maybe relationships that we ought to examine a little more closely. So, what would it be like if we could step outside of these dichotomies of good, bad, or right or wrong, and just say, this is just what is, and it's there for a reason. My job is just to get curious about what that reason might be. Like Katie says, it has nothing to do with being spiritual or trying to aspire to some kind of ideal. It's just very, very practical. Really just being in contact with reality of what's actually happening. Any experience or any memories, any sensations, any strong emotions. On some level, it's just information. It's just giving us the cue as to what to pay attention to see what it's trying to tell us. I think it takes a lot of courage to live that way. It's not always easy. But neither is labeling every emotion or every sensation, every thought as good or bad or desirable or undesirable. That's hard as well. And the good news is we can get better at it. We can just get better at just being with whatever's happening, noticing whatever stories we tell ourselves, whatever judgments come up, and then just very intentionally take a step back. Just say, this is what is right now. You don't need to attach to any notions of positive or negative. You just see it for what it is and then be with it. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Long, slow exhale. Relaxing your hands, chest, your belly, and then hold the exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead, open your eyes, come back to the session. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think depending on what exactly the narrative is and what the experience is, obviously we do what we need to do to survive and get through it. But I think there's something really valuable in cultivating this kind of ability to be mindful and just be present with things as they are, and then there's sort of a different intelligence that can come up there. So hope that was helpful. Hope to see you tomorrow. I'll hang out for a few more minutes, and thanks, Stefan. Take care. See you tomorrow. Thanks, Donovan. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. That was great.
Thanks, Carol.